Well, hey there, boys and squirrels. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do an unboxing of a Firefly Telecaster style guitar that I bought from Guitars Garden. I've never played one, never held one, but everybody seems to think that these guitars punch pretty well above their weight. So we're going to find out, and hopefully we'll do it a little bit together. I don't know how much I'm going to get into that. But anyway, here it is. So this is a Telecaster style guitar, all black with what looked to be on the website like white trim, which I thought was pretty cool. I have one Telecaster style guitar. I have a Glary Telecaster thin line, and I've done a lot of modding work on it. So it actually plays pretty well, sounds pretty good, sounds like a kind of like a vintage Tex-Mex telly. This one I think has two humbuckers on it. Their Guitars Garden is not real super specific about the pickups that they use on their guitars. But they say Alnico 5, and it's a pretty giant looking pickup, so who knows. All right, so anyway, model number on this says FFTLSDBK565. I have no idea what that means or if it is even a meaningful number at all. I just know that they label all the guitars FFTLs for all the tellies and FFTS for all the Strat styles. All right, so let's see, which end? This is the neck end because it's lighter. So let's try taking it out by the body end. Oh, and by the way, Cayman Jack is not an official sponsor of my channel, but if they want to send me freebies, I would be more than happy to take anything from their Sweet Heat line. Oh my God, those are so good. All right. First thing. This is awesome. I've actually packed this thing in solid styrofoam. Oh, it's a long guitar. Get off my desk, you damn box. Look at this. That's impressive. Which do we think is up and which is down? Probably the thin part of the styrofoam is the upside, as I'm guessing. But I have never, ever received a guitar mail order that's been packed entirely in some kind of what's probably going to be a molded piece of styrofoam. Usually they come with a really cheap gig bag and they're wrapped in, cheesy foam, and then they have the little box on the inside of the big box. But in this case, this one went straight to zero. Okay. Look at that. Holy moly. Yeah, this is so far, this is impressive. This is not impressive. I don't know why they bother with these things. It's like, doesn't everybody have a guitar cord around someplace? They're always cheap, too. That one's garbage. Now, one thing that appealed to me about this was the gold hardware on it. And I'm a sucker for gold hardware because I have a Gretsch Electromatic in gold that is just killer to look at. All right. Squeak. Squeak. I'm probably taking this off the wrong way. Probably a lot easier to take it off the other direction. Ah, there it comes. All right. Well, we'll start out. It's heavy. There is no doubt that this is one piece of solid guitar. So what do we have on here? Well, I am informed by the specifications that these guitars have stainless steel frets. These are the aforementioned Alnico 5 pickups, but that's pretty glamorous, I think. Dang. He sights down the neck for any obvious warpiness. He does not see any. And we look through, check for obvious paint flaws. Do I see any? One little one down here. Little tiny one. Nope. Nothing weird with the binding. It's actually pretty good. It's this is a little squirrely right here. So they flattened off the corner. I don't know if we can see that or not. See right down there. I would have rather they had a nice bent jack plate, you know, custom formed or something like that to the shape of the guitar. Instead, they decided to flatten off this part of the guitar right here. And that's a little bit odd. But looking on the back side, pretty well finished. Nothing strange leaping out at me there. Neck, kind of a light roasted maple, I guess was what I'd call that, but it looks pretty nice. Notice that they have down in here, the truss rod adjustment is basically sticking an Allen wrench in there, kind of like a thumb wheel, and you crank it over left or right. Yeah, stainless steel frets, bone nut. Let's see how the this is always something funny. I once got a guitar from China, and believe it or not, it came out of the box and it was almost perfectly in tune. Well, could be worse. I know you can't hear that, but that's okay. There's no point to not tuning this up and actually trying it out. So the first thing I always do is I run up and down the side of the frets just to feel to see whether or not they've been finished off. And I think these would absolutely pass Phil McKnight's sock test. And if you don't know anything about that, he takes one of those nylon shoe try-on things that you get in the shoe stores, you know, little thing that slips over. He puts it over his hand and he runs it up and down the side of the frets and he sees whether anything catches. If nothing catches, it's perfect. If only a few things catch, it's very good. I would say this would be a 9 out of 10 on the sock trial, if not a 10 out of 10, at least for the feeling of the frets. There is nothing grabbing me at all on the sides of these frets, so that's a really good sign. The other question is, am I going to really want to play a guitar that's this heavy? It is. I think this is heavier than my Schecter, which is heavy. Okay, so out of the box, this is what you got. So now we're going to switch around. I'm going to put my little portable amp up, play a little bit through that, just to see how everything works and whether or not, you know, the tone controls and all this other stuff are copacetic. So back in a little bit. Stop the video. I forgot to do something very important here. So we're going to do it right in the middle of the two sections before we get into me actually playing the guitar badly. Specifications on the guitar are as follows. Now, these come directly from the Guitars Garden website. I kind of find them a little bit amusing. First of all, they don't actually put the full model number up there, but this is a FFTL-BBK. Of course, the TL stands for Telecaster, or whatever. And the features are roasted mahogany guitar body. Now, why you would roast a guitar body that's buried under 16 layers of polyurethane, I have no idea. Maybe they just like to burn them in the factory for fun. Roasted Canada maple neck, not Canadian, but Canada. Rosewood fretboard, well, that's cool. Korea high quality bridges, not Korean, and you get multiple bridges? Or are these high quality bridges used across all their guitars? I have no idea. There's only one bridge on that guitar. All right, stainless frets. That's an important one. I think that's worth mentioning. Customized Alnico 5 pickups. Again, no other specifications. I suppose if I really wanted to, I could go in and measure the output like Trogly does, but I don't really think that's worthwhile here. The one thing we will note is that, as I comment further, these are actually potted, so not sure if they're humbuckers or single coils. They sound sort of humbuckerish, and they don't, don't have any feedback or hum, but at least they don't specify what kind of a pickup these are. Nickel strings and bone nut. Note that they are together. They come as a pair. Nickel strings and bone nut. You can't get the nickel strings without the bone nut, and you can't get the bone nut without the nickel strings. I'm being stupid here, but anyway, the important thing on here, because most of us replace our strings right away, is that it is a bone nut, and yes, it is a bone nut. All right, now these specs here, I actually had to go measure because Guitars Garden doesn't tell you anything about the actual measurements of the guitar. So this guitar weighs in at 7 pounds 14 ounces. Oddly enough, it feels heavier than that, but actually weighing it out, no, it is right under 8 pounds. Nut width, 1.66 inches or 42 millimeters, and the width at the 12th fret is 2.08 inches or 53 millimeters. So that kind of gives you an idea what we're dealing with here. And now on to me playing the guitar and you getting an idea of what it sounds. Well, hey there, boys and squirrels. I am back, and I have, I think, done just a little tiny bit of setup work on this. Mostly what I did was adjusted the pickups on the guitar just to bring up the bass E string a little bit more because it seemed a little underwhelming. And of course, this venture is sponsored by Monster Energy drinks. No, just kidding. That's what I'm drinking right now. This is the Ultra Peachy Keen. It is my all-time favorite flavor, and my second best one is Ultra Paradiso. Mmm, yummy. All right. So the way I have this set up, this is my Behringer practice amp. My Boss Katana 100 will not fit on the top of this desk without overwhelming everything. And the clean sounds coming out of this are pretty good, so I don't have any problem using it. It's going through just through a mic, SM57 knockoff, going into my Sterling audio interface somewhere over here. And then the mic up here is just mostly to capture the ambience and the vocals, me talking, in other words. And then what I have this set to is I have just a little tiny bit of reverb on the clean channel, just because I can't stand totally dry sounds coming out of it, even though it might be a better A and B kind of a deal. And then for the distortion channel, I've got it just for a little bit of overdrive. So we're going to see how these both sound with this guitar. And we'll run through the pickups. All right. So first of all, we're going to start off, and I'm going to start with the neck pickup, clean channel, and I'm just going to play some chords. Again, emphasizing, please, I am not a freaking awesome guitar player. In fact, I kind of suck at it unless I've really, really practiced something. And my basic contribution to bands and things like that has always been lead vocals and rhythm guitars. So I'm just, playing cowboy chords, bar chords, all that sort of stuff. And then if somebody presses me into doing a lead, I'll do like a blues run or something like that. But I do not make any claims to being an awesome guitar player. I am not Trogley. I am not Phil McKnight. I am not the guitarologist or anybody like that that can kick my ass on guitar. I'm just an old guy who likes to play around with stuff. All right, here we go. All right, now we're going to move to the bridge pickup. And let's put them both together. All right. So gives you an idea. That's the clean channel with, like I said, a little tiny bit of reverb on it. This amp won't have the greatest bass because it's only running out of a 10-inch speaker, but it's all good. All right, so let's switch it to neck pickup. Some little dirtiness in here. Same thing. Bridge pickup. And both together. Okay, that's enough of that. And that's enough of my guitar playing, which I never claimed to be able to do other than as a rhythm guitar player in bands where I really, really know the song well. I am a lead vocalist. All right, let's go back to look my comments on this. Okay, so um, it sounds good. It sounds very, I want to say, kind of ordinary. There's nothing spectacular about it. It's sort of like an expected sound to a guitar. Um, Very smooth. I mean, it, even with overdriving it a little bit, the pickups aren't all that powerful, so they're not going to overwhelm the sound. Not overwhelm the sound of the amp or anything like that. I think it's probably almost kind of like a studio guitar more than I would consider it any kind of a rock and roll guitar or anything like that. Compare it to my Glary, which I've modded a little bit. My Glary actually sounds more like a Telecaster, especially on the bridge pickup, because the Glary has a really nasty little single coil pickup down there right next to the bridge, kind of like the original Tellies have. And it sounds quacky, twangy, whatever you want to call it. This in the bridge position still sounds, again, more like a studio guitar of some sort. I don't know exactly how to put it, but that's just my personal opinion. And again, I comes from me not being a real picky guitar player, but more along the lines of somebody who's playing rhythm guitar in a band. I think this would be a really good instrument to have. I also think, again, like I said when I brought it out of the box, I think it just looks cool. I mean, it's probably short of my Gretsch Electromatic, it is probably the coolest looking guitar that I have in my collection. And am I going to keep it? Yeah, I think I will. The other thing I noticed is that I have small hands, and the fretboard on this is a tad wider than most of my other guitars. It's especially noticeable if I go to it from my Squire Stratocaster. Squire has a much narrower and I would say faster neck, but that's only for me because of my fingers and because of my hands and because of my crippled nature here, having Dupuytren's contracture in my little finger. So, um, so yeah, if you have slightly larger hands, I think you're going to really like the fretboard on this. And playing up and down it, I did not notice any fret buzz anywhere on the neck. Nothing, there was no high frets on it. There were no um, sharp edges, no fret sprout. This thing was just better finished than anything that I've seen in the sub $600 range. With the exception of a couple of Sterling by Music Man that I've had the pleasure to play in the past. Those came out really well out of the box. But this is awesome. I mean, I would not hesitate at all to recommend this as a brand. I've noticed in the Firefly Facebook user group, which I'm a member of, that every once in a while people get a clunker, but I would say it's probably one out of 40 or 50 guitars that's not a clunker in that respect. It's usually something that happened to the guitar in shipping. Like their most recent one was, looks like the way they put it into the foam crate that you get with the guitar, that somebody probably bonked the guitar on a desk or on a packing table or something like that, and it ended up with a pretty good sized chip on the back. And the guitar still looks fantastic from the front. And my understanding is that Firefly gave the guy a substantial discount rebate on it for the damage, because it was clearly not something that he did, because he was careful to take videos of unboxing. And I would recommend that to you if you're buying a guitar. Um, Really, what you should do is always at least video you unboxing the guitar and looking at it for any physical damage. Electronics and stuff like that you can deal with later, but the unboxing part and showing the company that you bought it from or the person that you bought it from that it was actually damaged in shipment is going to really set you up well if you have to make a claim against the person. And also, when you bring the box in and you look at it, you make sure you take pictures of it to show that if there was external pressure put on the guitar, external knockage, it's almost always going to show up in the cardboard crate on the outside. And that is another sign to, because if you have to make a claim with the shipper, you are going to need that in the future. So that's just my advice. And I hope that this little venture into my first Firefly guitar helps you with any decisions you might make in the future. Ta-ta for now. We'll see you later. And by the way, if you like this shit, hit the subscribe button down below. Thanks.
Goodbye.